Comes to elections for me, the only thing that I care about is policy. That's all I care about. Okay, you can be nicest guy in the world, but if you get in there and just start, executing all the Jews, I got a problem with that. I don't care that you was nice to me, but if you're killing a bunch of Jews, you're an asshole and go fuck yourself. And I would feel bad if I was a person who supported and voted for something like that. So policies. Here's what I want you to do. All Kentuckians, this is what I want everybody to do, okay? I want you to get out a piece of paper and I want you to write down the top 10 ideas that you think are the most important. And when you write those top 10 ideas, do it before you read about any of these other guys or other positions, because it'll be your own thoughts, it'll be your own mind. If you listen to them first, then you might be swayed by what they're saying to change. But if that's not something that matters to you, then, so anyways, make a list of the top 10 items that you think is most important, and then compare that list to what the other candidates think. So if you're a person, for instance, if you're a person who believes in term limits, okay, if that's your thing, you're sick and tired of people who's been in there for 30 years, getting another 6 years on top of it, they're an entrenched interest, they have all the power and wealth, so they have, all the advantages. If you're sitting there, in favor of term limits, then that would be some issue that you would want to talk to the other candidates about to see if they believe in term limits also. There's also a part sort of whether or not, term limits. Can you actually get a law passed? Are they the legislature? But anyways, so make the top 10 list. Is it economics? Is it police brutality? Is it Common Core? Is it education, healthcare? Jobs? What is the biggest? Is it the Mexicans? Is that for all you racist bigots, all those damn immigrants? If the immigration is your number one concern in Kentucky, like there's 4 Mexicans working in, Farmer Joe's field. They're doing the cutting the tobacco that the white people don't want to cut anymore. So anyways, if you're pissed off about that, right, that's part of your list, and then compare and contrast to see which of these other candidates are speaking about your issues. That's how you should vote. It's all about the policies. It doesn't matter. Nothing else I think matters. Your relationship to the person does matter in terms of can you get what you want. But if, I just want a good governor. I just want a good person who stays in there and does what they're supposed to do. And I want, healthcare protected. I want education protected. I want, public roads, and I want corporations to come here too. So I see a happy, synergetic, working people and corporations working together and building a great society. So we could do a war on the poor. Have a war on poverty, not on the poor. They have a war on the poor now. That's the class war that the Republican is promising to bring into you. They're going to sell Kentucky out to China. They're going to make you slaves to the Chinese government. So if you're, a poor Kentuckian, just get used to making a bunch of cheap, factory made stuff instead of just, shipping it out there. They're going to use you as cheap labor. And there are also a lot of foreign companies are going to come in here and buy up all of our land and our resources, and they're going to establish businesses that any one of us could have established ourselves if we had the know-how, the capital, and a government that was actually willing to help us Kentuckians out, okay? Instead of these carpetbagging, fucking bureaucratic plutocrats, fucking, corrupt, professional corruptionists. These goddamn classic professional corruptionists. Fuck them. Anyways, make your list of 10 and see which one of the candidates are closely aligned to what you believe in. If you're a progressive like me, you have to vote for a progressive slate. You got to vote Daniel Grossberg, Charles Lovett, Young Masters. You got to. You ain't got a choice. And unless you're not a true progressive, if you're a fucking, corporatist, go ahead, vote right. And maybe consider not being a Democrat anymore, because if you're not a progressive Democrat and you consider yourself a conservative, why are you a Democrat? Why are you a Democrat? We have no choices. There's one conservative, one kind of conservative. What's the choice? We all have conservative liberal in us. And Winston Churchill, I ended off with this. Winston Churchill said that if you're not a liberal before you're 30, you have no heart. And if you're not a conservative after you're 30, you have no brain. And so that goes to the fundamental sort of question about liberalism versus conservatism. When you're young and idealistic, you care and you love and you don't want, bad things to sort of happen. When you get older, you want to protect what you got and you sort of, maintain the order. So if you've been conservative all your life, you've never been a liberal, then you don't have a fucking heart. You've never had a fucking heart. Even as a kid, that's the most idealistic you'll ever become. That's the height of your idealism is in your youth. And if during the height of your idealism, you are still kissing the fucking establishment's ass, you're a heartless, soulless fucking psychopath. So, it's not a big shock to me, but Occupy Kentucky, May 19th, Tuesday, for Democrats, but it's May 20th for Republicans. Okay, Kentucky, I'm going to run down the primary election. You got May 19th. You have a primary election that's coming right up in 5 days on Tuesday. And so I just wanted to do a quick overview of what the Democrats will have to decide on, what the Republicans will have to decide on, and what Eastern Kentucky has to decide on. The independents aren't running for right now, so if you're an independent, your vote doesn't matter. The only people that matter on Tuesday are registered Republicans and registered Democrats. And they only matter for their respective primaries. Since I'm running in the Democratic primary, I don't, after the election, I'll give a crap about everybody, but right now I want Democrats to vote for me. So the Republican voters don't matter. Only the registered Democratic voters matter. If you don't vote, you don't matter. You don't matter. And I'm actually honest enough to tell you that. But they all believe that. Okay, so if you don't vote, then you can't show your support. And all vote is just like, hey. In fact, I would say that with this campaign, I have learned that $100 or $1,000 is what you're allowed to donate up to. $1,000 to a person's campaign is infinitely more important than your stupid fucking vote. Okay. Your $1,000 could translate into many more votes, but your single vote, does everybody have to be courted for their single vote? And no, they don't, right? You get $1,000, put some ads out, and that's typically how Kentucky politicians have won the election, right? Just have a bunch of $1 million, throw a bunch of TV ads out, and then eventually the 10% of the public who's going to vote. 13% voted in the primary in 2012. I was hearing 7%. Allison said 10%. That's embarrassing. That's not a democracy. Okay, so 90% are not going to vote on Tuesday. I think that's ridiculous. I think it's total bullshit. I think it's a failure of education, failure of Kentucky's media, and failure of just Kentuckians wanting to know what's going on. They're not citizens. They're not politicians. They're I don't know. Their lives are so great or their lives are so crappy. Either one, one extreme or the other. So anyways, without further ado, here's the races that we're coming up to. Okay, so for the Republicans, they have 4 races. They have 4 races, competitive races that they would have to study up on and eventually decide who they want to be the victor. And the 4 races are, they have a governor's race, they have a treasurer's race, attorney general's race, and a commissioner of agriculture race. So that's the 4 races, okay? If you're a Republican, you need to figure out who you like, Matt Bevin, James Comer, or Hal Heiner, or the born and bred Kentuckian, come up out of our dirt, Will T. Oh, Will T. He's honest. He tells the truth. Talks off, he wears his heart on his sleeve. And he's a Kentuckian. So that's probably why the media has laughed at him. Ha ha ha, look at this dumb hillbilly. But I like that. I like the fact that he tells me what he actually believes. He didn't write it down. He's not trying to catch a sound bite. He actually speaks from his heart, and he's progressive, surprisingly progressive on some issues. But yeah, if you're a Republican, Will T is a badass, and he's also Kentuckian. Matt Bevin is from New Hampshire, and Hal Heiner is from Wisconsin, and Rand Paul is from Pennsylvania, and Mitch McConnell is from Alabama. So I thought we hated outside agitators, right? Isn't that the thing? Like, you're not from around here, are you, boy? You're not from around. Oh, you're not from around here? Well, hell, come be our governor. So that's what the Republicans are going to have to decide for governor. Now, when it comes to the Secretary of State, they don't have a competitive election, but Stephen L. Knipper is who Allison or Charles Lovett is going to have to face, which matters. If there is no competition, then it's whoever you think is stronger between the two candidates, but you have to beat the Republican in November. We have more Democrats, so you actually don't need Republican voters, but in general, it's good to try to get all the voters. So that's a Democrat race. I want to finish the Republicans first. Okay, so that was the governor's race. Now for treasurer, you got 3 choices for treasurer, and these 3 choices totally confuse everything because John Larson says as soon as he wins the treasurer's seat, he's just going to resign, and then it's abolished. There is no more treasurer. The other candidates have to justify why we need a treasurer's position. And I believe Daniel Grossberg has done the best job on the Democrat side to be a watchdog. There's a bunch of unclaimed property. I guess people could just take people's property and then, somebody has to say, no, that's somebody's property, and then it gets taken back. I don't know. It sounds like the government just taking a bunch of people's stuff, and you need an honest treasurer in there to actually make sure the people get their stuff back. Because I heard like 2/3, I barely know what I'm talking about here, but like the unclaimed property, the 2/3 of the unclaimed property eventually is returned to the original owners. So that means most of the property that's taken, it wasn't supposed to be taken, and the original owner deserves to get their property back. So fascinating that's what the treasurer is doing as a watchdog, someone to make sure that they're spending money well. You can do a lot with the treasurer's office. The treasurer does get paid, 6 figures, 100,000 or so. They all do, including the lieutenant governor. Lieutenant governor gets $117,000. I would create 3 employee positions to lead 3 of my initiatives. I don't need $117,000. I haven't heard any of these lieutenant governors say that they would take a pay cut. 117, who needs $117,000? My God, $30,000, I'd feel like I was living high on the hog, like I was the richest man in the world. Okay, so let's finish this up. So Allison Ball, Kenny Imes, and John Larson are the 3 Republicans. So if you're a Republican, you've got to decide between John Larson, Kenny Imes, and Allison Ball. John Larson says do away with the whole thing. Kenny Imes, he's an older man from Murray, Callaway County. And Allison Ball is a young, I think blonde female. Not that young, old enough to, she seems pretty serious. They're Republicans. Can you take any Republican serious? But John Larson is of Lexington, Fayette County. Allison Ball is of Floyd County. And Kenny Imes is of Murray, Callaway County. So those are the 3 Republicans that you'll have to decide. So that's the Republicans, the treasurers. Now the attorney generals, you got Whitney Westerfield of Hopkinsville, Christian County. You also have Michael T. Hogan of Louisa, Lawrence County. If you watch the KET debate, Whitney Westerfield came across as very confident, very strong. And Michael T. Hogan was just kind of slouched off over to the side, not looking very strong. And even in his criticisms against Westerfield, Whitney basically just deflected all the criticisms like it was just, like a little fly, a little flea. He didn't really confront him and say, you were wrong on this. I think that's what Michael T. Hogan's problem was he's going to confront him, but he didn't want to, ruffle too many feathers. And the things that he talked about was sort of, Jack Conway should keep on bashing gays. He should have kept on bashing gays because that was the law, and therefore the rule of law says that, you got to do whatever the law says. I think there's a difference between morality and law. There's doing what's right, and there's doing, discrimination. 2015, get the fuck out of here. I'm very embarrassed of Kentucky for the 2004 blight. That's a black eye on our state's history, and it is bigotry. It is bigotry, and fuck the bigotry. 2 private individuals can do whatever they want to do in the privacy of their own homes. I'm more freaked out by the person that wants to, watch that, and there's sodomy laws on the books. And so it's to throw gay people into jail. And, you can ask, if you're in a private business, you can ask gay people to leave. And, 2015, it's incredible, too, the double standards. There's, in Louisville jails, they have sodomites, sodomizers, borderline rapers, right? That is that's happening in the Louisville jails. So if you're a Louisville jailer and you got a badge, you can do all the gay sex you want, all the sodomy, forced, sex onto the inmates as much as you want. But if you're doing it of your own free will because you actually love another person, then you're going to be put out as an outcast. That's horrible. It's fucking embarrassing. All the Republican governors hate gay people. So if you're a homophobe, congratulations. All your Republicans are homophobes too. I also want to point out this there's a study that came out that said that the people who are most turned on by gay porn are homophobic people. So the men who are like, ooh, gay, or, I hate that. I hate how they do that, right? Ooh, they're so gross. That's the person who's most turned on by gay porn. So basically that just says that homophobic men just hate the gay man that's in himself. And men need to learn how to love. I think homophobia prevents men from showing any type of affection, right? Just barely a smile. Smiling is considered gay. Hey, what are you being gay for? I'm just happy. It's a good, happy day. Well, quit being gay, man. Oh, okay, shit. It's pretty brutal. Bill Burr is right. So that's Whitney Westerfield and Michael T. Hogan. Michael T. Hogan was saying that, they're bashing Conway. I think Westerfield actually agreed on that. I forget what he disagreed, the gasoline tax. Westerfield didn't want to raise the gasoline tax, but Michael T. Hogan did. So I guess Michael T. Hogan isn't as conservative. He wants to raise spending. I don't know what the gas tax was a very particular issue. Before they said it was going to be 32 cents or 22 or something like that, and then it wound up being 36. I don't know. They raised the minimum. So instead of it dropping down below 22 cents, now they said that they cannot drop below 26 cents or 36 cents. I forget if it's in the 20s or 30s. And this is pennies that we're talking about. But the Republicans had vowed to not raise it. And so the ones who actually, Whitney Westerfields, who had voted to keep it down, were obeying the pledge that they had made previously. Michael T. Hogan is afraid that since gas prices are going down, that means his road departments and everything else in the county isn't going to get financed either, because with lower gas prices also means less tax revenue. So Michael T. Hogan's already sounding like a liberal tax and spin, just take as much taxes as people want. I think he's got the more reasonable position. I mean, it was only 4 cents, so it's not that big a deal. But the government, that's the government mentality. Instead of gasoline prices being cheaper and Frankfurt being like, yeah, hell yeah, now, it won't be working Kentucky's backs. Gas is cheaper for everybody. People have more money in their pockets. Instead of thinking that way, they're scared. They're like, oh my God, gas is going down. That means we're not going to get our tax revenues. We're not going to be able to build our bridges and everything else. We need to figure out a way to raise these taxes. Now, what the fuck? You guys are too far removed. If there's lower gas prices, that's a good thing. We want lower gas prices. Fuck your taxes. Seriously. I mean, we need taxes, but my God, to raise our taxes because gas prices are falling. I remember a time when gas was 99 cents. 89 cents was like, wow, I'm going to get this 89 cent gas. But if it went over $1, people are like, what the fuck? It's over $1, man. Gas is over $1. So Whitney Westerfield of Hopkinsville, Christian County, Michael T. Hogan of Louisa, Lawrence County are running for... Excuse me. It's starting to get warm in here. It's cold all night, and then it's hot as hell during the day. You know what I'm talking about, Kentucky. Okay, so Whitney Westerfield, Michael T. Hogan are running for the Attorney General of the Republican Party, and they're going to be facing Andy Beshear. Now, if you want to talk about conservative and continuity, keeping the government in its place, you would want to keep Allison Grimes, and you'd want to put Andy Beshear in there. No, my bad. You'd want Adam Edelin. Beshear would have some continuity with the family name, right? So maybe, he could ask Papa Beshear what's going on. But the Adam Edelin and Allison Grimes are the only two statewide executives who's going to be running for the same seat that they already have. The other 5 executive seats are going to be new people. So 5 of the 7 executive seats are going to be new people. That's an electoral revolution. That's most of the leadership will be completely changed, And if the Adam Edelin and Allison Grimes don't win their position, then the whole government, the whole top of the government has completely changed. There is a Democrat and Republican who are vying for those positions. But I don't know, I want to say the consensus is that they probably have won, but I'd actually checked out Charles Prophet, and I'm actually liking, or Charles, I don't even know his name, Charles Lovett, and he actually sounds pretty good. So, okay, the Republicans also have Richard Heath of Mayfield Graves County and Ryan Quarles of Georgetown Scott County to decide for their Commissioner of Agriculture. So if you're a Republican, you got to decide on 4 governor candidates, plus they got lieutenant governor candidates, right? So you got to check out the governor's race, the Commissioner of Agriculture race, the Attorney General's race, and the Treasurer's race. You got 4 races that you need to check into. So who do you want for Treasurer? Who do you want for Attorney General? Who do you want for Agriculture? Who do you want for Governor? Figure that out. Don't go to the polls thinking you're going to figure it out, or just, I like this guy's name. So that's the Republicans. For the Democrats, they have 3 competitive races. Before I get to that, though, there's one race, all these races are statewide races, but there is one seat, Will T. Scott's old seat. He was on the Supreme Court. He was a justice for the Supreme Court, and he resigned that seat. So now you have an open seat in Eastern Kentucky, and they're running for that. You got Sam Wright of Whitesburg, Letcher County, and he looks ridiculous. He looks like an asshole. He doesn't seem like a nice guy. He seems like a fucking Republican, to be honest with you. So Sam Wright of Whitesburg, Letcher County versus Janet Stumbo of Van Leer, Floyd County. She is endorsed by the union, so she looks like she's more of a working class person. That's just my general perception of them. I would look into it more, but since I don't actually get a chance to vote for them, I only kind of just took a quick glance at it. But the quick glance, Janet Stumbo of Van Leer, Floyd County sounds better than Sam Wright of Whitesburg, Letcher County. So elect Janet Stumbo if you're in Eastern Kentucky, the 7th district, maybe? I don't know, the Eastern Kentucky district. Now for the Democrats, you got to study 3 campaign races, and that's all you got to study. Now, my campaign is the progressive standing up to the Democrats saying, hey, you need to be more true to your base and more honest to working class people. Where's the war on poor, the war on poverty? Whereas, there's a lot of issues that we're not talking about. That we're number one in poverty or in pollution. We're number one with mental health issues. Number one with child deaths and child abuse cases. Just so many bad things, actually, that just we need to do something. No running water in Eastern Kentucky. So there's the Democrats, the 3 Democrats. I am for the progressive pushback. I'm gonna tell you my theory on elections. Okay, this is there's candidates who are there to win, and I'm there to go all the way, and I'm doing the best that I can in order to win. But there's also those candidates who influence. Okay, I remember with Ralph Nader's campaign, he gave 10 reasons why Al Gore lost the election in 2000, and that stuck with me. 10 reasons that Al Gore could have ran on. 10 progressive reasons. Healthcare, education, economic issues, unions, but he didn't. He didn't touch any of those issues. And that stuck with me because I thought exactly the way Ralph Nader did. The 10 points that Nader had pointed out to me that he handed basically to Al Gore that Al Gore did not take. Those were the true progressive values of what the Democrats were supposed to be for. So the Nader, while not having a chance to win, had a chance to sort of sway the election one way or another, but also to change the dialogue. So even if I don't win, which the polls are suggesting that we might not win, if we are able to get a large showing, 13% is a pretty, I'd like to get higher than that, but that's a pretty decent showing, I think, for sort of a startup tap dancing campaign, the way we've done this. And I would be proud of that because it shows that there's 13% of Kentucky voters that think that Jack Conway's not good enough. He needs to stand up for the issues that we're standing up for. What did our voters, when they voted for Jeff Young and me, what did they vote for us for? Was it just a protest vote because they didn't like Jack? Well, why don't they like Jack? Did they vote for us? Were there issues that they actually stood up for when it came to us? And so therefore, he should adopt those same issues. Are there, the war on poverty, the issues of social spending, the war on drugs, the Iraq war came up. I'm not sure if that's the class war. I mean, what is it about Jack that either you protested against, or what was it about us that you voted for? Jack can neutralize us if he was to pick up those issues, but I don't think he's smart enough to do that. And so if he doesn't pick up those issues, as soon as he wins, he's going to run to the right. But if he runs to the right, he won't be his authentic progressive self, and people will vote for authentic over fake any day of the week. People will vote for real over fake. If you got a choice between a real Republican and a fake Republican, well, fuck. If you're going to vote Republican, just go with the real one. Don't go with the fake one. Well, let's get a real Democrat who actually believes in real issues, their own thing, and doesn't, play a defensive game with the Republican talking points. And then the reason why I say all this is because I will vote for Charles Lovett. Allison Grimes endorsed Jack Conway, so even if I do have feelings for Allison, she's beautiful, right? She's in politics. She's, she gave Mitch McConnell, she gave him some pretty hard digs. But she endorsed the other guy. So, without even questioning, without even seeing what we could do, Charles Lovett, I see his platform here. I'm very excited about Charles Lovett. He's a liberal. He's a progressive. He wants to enhance the election process, protect voter rights, get better ballot access for all eligible Kentucky voters, implement the use of electronic voting poll books for a convenient, simple, and secure election day voting process for voters, work to expand our current e-voting procedures, building and implementing Kentucky's online voter registration portal, expanding Kentucky's vote by mail process, transparency, improve operational effectiveness, accountability, and service, open voting, open primary voting in Kentucky, empower economic growth, expanding business opportunities. Everything that she could do, he could do too, but he's promising more. He's saying that we do need, 10%, that's embarrassing. Why the fuck does Kentucky does not participate in their democracy, and the people that get elected don't have democratic legitimacy? 90% of Kentuckians stayed home. 90% of Kentuckians said, fuck this election, fuck these candidates, I'm not going to fucking do a goddamn thing. And I don't know if it's because they're backwards and stupid. I don't know if it's because the media is shitty, if they had bad education that didn't teach democracy, how democracy works, and what their duties are in a civic society, in a civil society. Do we have a civil society anymore? Bowling alone, right? There's no more bowling leagues. So 90%, 9 out of 10 Kentuckians said fuck the election, fuck making a choice for, and why. And I think lack of decisions, who gives a crap, what can we do that makes a difference? I think those are the types of things that we're seeing. But I think that the low, we have all the problems that we have because nobody's fucking voting. That's why we have the problems. That's why politicians can come in here, spend a bunch of money, and then get elected. Because you convince enough of the fucking, rabble to vote for you, inspire just maybe 10, 15% that never voted before because you put out some really good ads that they really liked, and now you got power. And just basically because you bullshitted and you tricked the average voter. Well, what if we actually start getting the average working class people who speak the truth, who tell us good things, and and actually have a vibrant democracy, have a discussion, have debates, have politics should be water cooler talk. That would be just incredible. We've been talking about the Derby, we've been talking about March Madness, and the Royal Baby came up. Now there's only 5 days left before the election. Have we even started talking about the election or not? Are we going to wait till fucking Monday and then just be shocked? Whoa, who? The Republicans chose who? And then the Democrats chose who? Oh, I can't believe them. And, that would only be the governor's race, right? So the other smaller races, why don't you give a shit about your attorney general or your treasurer or your secretary of state? Do you know about these positions? Do you know that there's 12 cabinets under the governor? The governor controls 12 cabinets. So when the Noglers got, their kids taken away from them, the sheriff kept on saying the cabinet ordered this. The cabinet is the executive office. The executive is the governor's office, gives them power for the local cabinet in your county to force an order onto the sheriff's office to go and take kids away from them, out of their homes. And unfortunately, I was very much in favor of the Nogglers for their home style, their unschooling, their freedom sort of agenda, the liberation education. Very similar to what I want to do with the Freedom School. But unfortunately, their son came out, a 19-year-old, and said that there was some sexual, physical, and mental abuse. And, the first two are, they're all really bad, but and the things that he said, it's only his way or nobody's way. And then the response, I was not very impressed with the response. It sounds like some petty fucking family bullshit. They had to demonize him, make him look like the bad guy. We're so sorry that he's been brainwashed by whoever. And I see no reason for him to lie. I see everything for him to be telling the truth. He said that there was bad shit happening. There is probable cause to make sure all the kids are safe. And I hope that they, give them the week or whatever to see if that they're safe. But if they don't say anything, if they never say anything within the week of being free from the oppression and can say whatever they want to say, and nothing's mentioned, they need to give those kids back. I was 100% in favor of them until Alex Brow, 19-year-old, said that, Joe had actually done some things to him. I agree with the principle of unschooling with liberation education. I grew up in a violent household, so I very much am opposed to child abuse. And so, yes, I think the state does have a interest in intervening in a private establishment, in a private home, in order to save a wife or a kid who's getting their ass kicked. I don't trust the police. I don't trust how they did it. I didn't like how they did the situation with the Nogglers. That basically they tricked her. They said, well, let us see the boys. And then they knew that they were there. And then when she tried away, they went ahead and arrested them, and then they arrested her. And I didn't like how they did that. I feel like we could have done it a better way. They even said that they was going to bring the SWAT team in. So that's some intense shit right there. I totally got on a tangent because that was weighing in my mind. I mean, it's just a family versus the state, and everything she was saying was right. The state does have a monopoly on violence, but that's sort of how they get order, and that's what their entire saving grace is. And with the extra charges and all this other extra bullshit, I think it's a little bit overkill. But with Alex Brow saying that does make me wonder what's going on. And, I still don't trust the police or the government, but it's not so clear-cut to me. Okay, so, why did any of that matter? Because it's all about freedom and liberation. If we have better healthcare, better education, we would be more free. But since education is about oppression, and since healthcare they're trying to do away with, they don't even want us to have life. We don't even have running water, some of us. So when it comes to the Democrats, who I'm going to vote for is going to be Charles Lovett, because he's got a more progressive agenda, and hopefully lots of people vote for Charles Lovett. I remember talking to Charles, or not talking to him, I just heard through the grapevine that he had suspended his campaign activity, so I give up on him, and now I'm reading his fucking website, and it looks pretty good, so I don't know why he would say he suspended his campaign activities. That made me give up on him, but now I see him. I was for Allison for a long time, but I'm going with Lovett. I'm going to vote for Lovett, I'm going to vote for myself, and Jeff Young, and then I'm going to vote for Daniel Grossberg. There's 5 Democrats who is running for treasurer, and this is the last thing I'm going to talk about. The 5 Democrats who's running for treasurer, you have Jim Glenn, Neville Blakemore, Richard Henderson, and Rick Nelson. And I haven't heard much from any of these guys. A lot of these guys seem like they're old and crusty. Daniel Grossberg, I like Daniel Grossberg. I guess, I don't know if he's Jewish or not, but he had got called a Jew by some guy who is actually working with Neville Blakemore. Blakemore was looking pretty good. Has, more money, seems to be having a more sort of serious looking campaign. But I don't trust him. I think Jack Conway give him some money, did not give Daniel Grossberg money. So if Jack Conway gives 4 of the 5 candidates a donation and doesn't give one of them a donation, well, which one of these guys is going to be a better watchdog over Jack? the one who put $1,000, if a guy can give me $1,000 put in my pocket, I might, turn a blind eye, right? And this is me being Jack, or me being a treasurer. So if I'm Neville Blakemore and Jack Conway put $1,000 into my pocket, I might not say, Jack, hey, you can't spend that money. I might not be a good watchdog. So who would be the best watchdog? Would be the person that wasn't bribed, who didn't take any money from Jack Conway. He's going to be the governor. But the treasurer has their own functions, and it's all about, taking care of the money and make sure there's not too much spending with the way that the pensions, the double dipping and the pensions, what the fuck, Kentucky? Like, that's embarrassing how, basically the problem just got worse and worse and worse, and they just keep spending money they don't have. Well, if you had a good treasurer, you could actually take a look at that. Also, check out the unclaimed property. Daniel Grossberg is my guy, Charles Lovett, and Jeff Young. We have a progressive revolution. We have the progressive uprising. So, even if none of the progressives win, I hope that we have a large enough showing that it sends a shot across the bow that there is not just conservative Democrats in Kentucky, but there are also progressive Democrats who want to see Kentucky advance and go forward. They're in favor of social programs, healthcare, education, roads, the socialist salt trucks, the socialist post offices, the socialist schools, and also believe in capitalism too. So guarantee our life, bring some corporations in here, let us have jobs, but it isn't, the corporations aren't going to save us all. My main philosophy is that we got to develop ourselves. We got to develop ourselves, start our own businesses, be entrepreneurs, and we got to have, money to be able to start these businesses, and we need room to fail. So, the corporations are not going to save us all. They might save some of us, but they're not going to save us all. For the rest of us, we've got to figure out another way to make some money or to make the society work. So that way people aren't just dying off in the streets, not having, any sense, of like, I don't know, understanding of what life is about. So yeah, that's it. Okay. So that was in a nutshell. I know 32 minutes doesn't sound like a nutshell, but it was. Okay. Eastern Kentucky race, Supreme Court race, vote for Janet Stumbo. Republicans, I don't know what y'all base any of your decisions on, so I don't do whatever it is y'all do. I think Whitney Westerfield's probably going to take the Attorney General position. John Larson is the only name that I could think of with the treasurers, but you got Kenny Imes and Allison Ball, and the Commissioner of Agriculture, Ryan Quarles, and the other guy, Quarles might just win just because he's got a Q in his name. Quarles. I'm just running down real quick again. I'm doing it a real quick rundown again. Richard Heath of Mayfield and Graves County. So Ryan Quarles of Georgetown or Richard Heath. I have no idea which one of them, is going to be in favor of legalizing it. We should have legalized cannabis 20 years ago. If we would have done Gatewood's plan 20 years ago, we would be the richest state today. Instead, Colorado is taking our money. Colorado has less crime, less addiction, and they're actually making so much money, they're giving money back to the citizens. So if you're being serious that you want to lower crime and you want to lower the addiction rates, then do the Colorado model. If you're not fucking serious, you're just a fascist, Nazi, bullying, psycho piece of shit that just gets, a sadistic sort of, you just get off on fucking hurting other people, well, keep doing what you're doing, be in favor of the drug war. And in fact, I think there's only two candidates that's in favor 100% of the drug war, and that's James Comer and that's Jack Conway. Those two are very pro-drug war. Comer wants to protect his hemp industry, so he says, fuck cannabis. And Jack Conway's been fucking, poor white black people over for nonviolent crimes for the last 8 fucking years. Not to mention letting, Samantha Ramsey and a lot of innocents just get shot up for no reason. I've never known Jack Conway to ever oppose a police officer. I've never known him to ever convict a corrupt cop. And you're telling me all these people with badges and guns, none of them get outed? In fact, here in Breckinridge County, you had one guy who got fired because they all had sex, like 4 cops had sex with a 15-year-old. And then it went in front of the grand jury. He just quit, right? They didn't fire him. They give him the option to quit. Well, that's fucking nice. So you go around, fucking 15-year-olds, then you get the option to quit. But if you were to, in Elizabethtown, what they did there was they waited for the grand jury to indict. So if the grand jury didn't indict, which I hadn't heard about it, well, they got away with it. What the fuck? What the fuck? That is a crime. Rape is a crime. Murder is a crime. Stealing, these are morality. These are fundamental morals. And if we can't agree that rape, stealing, violence, murder, kidnapping, if we can't agree that these things are crimes, I think we're very far off from being civilized. So I think that might be it. So, Republicans, do your thing. For the Democrats vote for Daniel Grossberg, Charles Lovett, Young Masters for a progressive uprising. Viva la Revolution. Occupy. May 19th, 2015. Go vote, Kentucky.